The galaxy of Warhammer 40,000 is a realm of ceaseless conflict, where the line between heroism and damnation is often blurred. Among the Imperium's countless legends, some stand apart, shrouded in mystery and dread. This is the story of Mephiston, the Lord of Death, a name that inspires awe and fear in equal measure. Known as one of the greatest warriors of the Blood Angels chapter, Mephiston's tale is not just one of martial prowess, but of a profound transformation that defies the boundaries of mortality itself. To understand his journey, one must first grasp the significance of the Blood Angels, a chapter steeped in glory and tragedy. Their legacy is marked by their noble lineage, their proximity to divinity through their primarch, Sanguinius, and their eternal struggle against the Red Thirst and the Black Rage, curses born from the dark echoes of their primarch's death. Mephiston's story is woven into this grand narrative, but it transcends the struggles of his chapter, touching upon the very essence of what it means to overcome the shadow of death. This tale begins not with triumph, but with struggle. Mephiston was once Calistarius, a librarian of the Blood Angels, whose path to greatness was neither guaranteed nor easily earned. His transformation into the Lord of Death was a trial of endurance, willpower, and survival, an ordeal that would reshape him into something far beyond the mortal limitations of his brethren. The galaxy itself provides the backdrop for this incredible saga, a crucible where heroes are forged and broken. It is a place where the warp, a dimension of chaos and psychic energy, intersects with reality, creating both opportunity and peril. For the Blood Angels, the warp is both a source of power and a harbinger of their darkest fears. It was within the depths of this supernatural realm that Mephiston faced his ultimate trial, one that would forever alter his destiny and that of his chapter. As we delve into the journey of Mephiston, the Lord of Death, we must prepare to confront the dichotomy of his existence, a figure who embodies both the hope of transcending the Blood Angel's flaws and the danger of becoming consumed by the very forces he has mastered. The stage is set, and the players are many, but at the center stands a single figure, Mephiston, whose name has become legend. This is not merely a story of war or power, but of transformation, resilience, and the unyielding force of will that can defy even the grim fate of the 41st millennium. Mephiston, known across the galaxy as the Lord of Death, stands as one of the most formidable figures within the ranks of the Blood Angels. His title is more than just an honorific. It is a testament to the awe-inspiring power he wields and the chilling reputation he has earned through his deeds. As chief librarian of his chapter, Mephiston's responsibilities go far beyond the battlefield. He is the guardian of the Blood Angels' psychic legacy, the master of their esoteric knowledge, and the wielder of unparalleled psychic abilities that set him apart from even the most gifted individuals among his brethren. Born as Calistarius, his transformation into Mephiston marked a defining moment not only for himself, but for the entire Blood Angels chapter. His presence radiates authority and power, a beacon of strength that serves as both an inspiration and a reminder of the cost of survival in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. As the chief librarian, Mephiston occupies a unique position within the chapter hierarchy, blending his role as a warrior with that of a scholar and psychic adept. This combination of martial prowess, intellect, and psychic mastery makes him one of the most influential figures within the Blood Angels, if not the entire Imperium. The Blood Angels themselves are integral to understanding Mephiston's place within the broader narrative. They are a chapter renowned for their artistic sensibilities and unmatched martial discipline. Beneath their noble veneer, however, lies a dual curse, the Red Thirst and the Black Rage. These afflictions, remnants of a tragic past, haunt every member of the chapter, driving them into frenzied bloodlust or the depths of despair. Mephiston's role as their chief librarian places him at the forefront of managing these curses, offering guidance and support to those struggling against their inner darkness. He stands as a symbol of hope that even the most insidious afflictions can be confronted and overcome. Among the many powers Mephiston wields, his psychic abilities are unparalleled. His mind is a fortress of willpower, capable of bending the energies of the warp to his command. Unlike many psychers who struggle to maintain control over these dangerous forces, Mephiston wields them with an ease that borders on the supernatural. His abilities range from devastating offensive powers, such as tearing apart enemies with bursts of psychic force, to intricate manipulations of the warp that enhance his physical capabilities and provide insight into the complex tapestry of the galaxy. It is this mastery over the immaterial that has earned him his reputation as a peerless warrior and a feared adversary. In addition to the Blood Angels, other key players in Mephiston's story include the Librarius, the cadre of psychers within the chapter. These individuals share the burden of psychic responsibility, assisting in the protection and development of their brethren's psychic potential. While Mephiston serves as their leader, his powers and achievements set him apart even within this elite group. The Librarius operates not only as a support network for the Blood Angels, but also as a critical defense against the dangers posed by the warp. Together, they represent the balance between the chapter's noble ideals and the grim reality of their existence. The warp itself is an ever-present force in Mephiston's life, shaping his role and his struggles. It is both a tool and a threat, a source of his greatest powers and his greatest challenges. Unlike most who wield its energies, Mephiston's connection to the warp is uniquely intense, allowing him to perform feats that defy explanation. However, this connection comes at a cost, as the warp is a realm of chaos, filled with malevolent entities that seek to corrupt and destroy those who draw upon its power. Finally, the enemies of the Blood Angels, whether they be xenos, heretics, or the foul forces of chaos, play a peripheral yet significant role in defining Mephiston's legacy. These adversaries test his strength and resolve, forcing him to push the limits of his abilities in defense of his chapter and the Imperium. While they are not central to his story, they provide the crucible in which his legend is forged. Through his unparalleled psychic might, his unwavering determination, and his role as a leader among his brethren, Mephiston emerges as a figure of extraordinary significance. He is more than a warrior or a scholar. He is a living embodiment of the Blood Angels' struggles and triumphs, a beacon of hope that even in the darkest times, there exists a path forward. His story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of will to overcome even the most insurmountable odds. The story of Mephiston begins long before he became a figure of legend, rooted in the traditions, struggles, and aspirations of the Blood Angels chapter. He was born as Calistarius, a child of the Imperium, whose origins were shaped by the harsh realities of a galaxy in constant turmoil. Like all members of the Blood Angels, Calistarius was not born on the idyllic Baal itself, but on Baal Secundus, a barren and irradiated moon orbiting the same cursed planet. This desolate world served as the proving ground for aspirants hoping to join one of the most revered Space Marine chapters. Baal Secundus was a harsh and unforgiving place, scarred by nuclear devastation and plagued by radiation storms. Its sparse population was scattered across nomadic tribes, eking out an existence in an environment where survival was a daily struggle. In this world, strength, cunning, and resilience were not merely virtues but necessities. Those who could not adapt quickly succumbed to the environment, leaving only the strongest and most resourceful to endure. Calistarius was shaped by this crucible of adversity, learning early the value of determination and the will to survive. The young Calistarius belonged to a tribe that valued strength of mind as much as physical ability. Unlike many tribes that relied solely on brute force, his people placed great emphasis on cunning, wisdom, and the ability to anticipate danger. This upbringing not only honed his body, but also his mind, making him an ideal candidate for selection by the Blood Angels. The nomadic life of his people required constant movement and adaptability, instilling in him a deep understanding of the challenges of survival in an unrelenting environment. Like many others who aspired to join the Blood Angels, Calistarius was subjected to the harsh trials designed to test the mettle of potential recruits. These trials were not limited to physical endurance, but extended to tests of willpower, mental acuity, and even a budding sense of duty. The Blood Angels sought individuals who embodied not only physical perfection, but also the potential for greatness in all aspects of their being. Calistarius's performance during these trials marked him as exceptional, even among the already remarkable aspirants. The aspirants who survived the trials were subjected to the transformation process that would turn them into Space Marines. This was a grueling series of surgeries, genetic modifications, and chemical treatments, all aimed at forging ordinary humans into transhuman warriors. For Calistarius, this was the beginning of a new chapter, one that would strip away much of his past identity and replace it with the strength, speed, and endurance of a Space Marine. Yet, even as he underwent these changes, the essence of who he was, his resilience, his cunning, and his will, remained intact. Upon completing his transformation, Calistarius joined the ranks of the Blood Angels as a battle brother, dedicating his life to the defense of the Imperium. His early years within the chapter were marked by relentless training and the constant honing of his skills. It was during this time that his natural talents began to manifest. While many of his peers excelled in martial combat, Calistarius displayed a remarkable aptitude for the psychic arts. This rare gift did not go unnoticed, and he was soon inducted into the Librarius, where his training took on a new dimension. The Librarius was not merely a place of study, but a crucible for those with psychic potential. Here, Calistarius learned to harness the immense power of the warp, channeling it to enhance his abilities and support his brothers in battle. This period of his life was defined by discipline and exploration, as he delved into the mysteries of the immaterial realm under the guidance of the chapter's most experienced psychers. His growth during this time was meteoric, setting him apart from his peers and earning him a reputation as a prodigy within the ranks of the Librarius. Despite his exceptional abilities, Calistarius was not immune to the challenges that came with his new role. The warp was as dangerous as it was powerful, and those who wielded its energies were always at risk of corruption or destruction. The Blood Angels' librarians bore an even greater burden, as their chapter's unique genetic legacy made them particularly vulnerable to the dark whispers of the immaterial. Calistarius, however, faced these challenges with the same determination that had defined his early life, refusing to falter in the face of adversity. It was this resilience that carried him through the trials of his early service, allowing him to rise steadily through the ranks. Each battle he fought, each foe he defeated, added to his growing legend. Yet, for all his successes, there remained a shadow looming over him, a sense that his greatest trial had yet to come. This feeling was not born of fear, but of a deep awareness that his path was far from ordinary. The events that would transform Calistarius into Mephiston were not yet upon him, but the foundations had been laid. His origins, his trials, and his ascension within the Blood Angels had prepared him for a destiny that would test the very limits of his being. The life of Calistarius was a continuous progression of trials, achievements, and challenges that ultimately led him to the brink of transformation. From his early days as a newly initiated battle brother of the Blood Angels, his actions consistently demonstrated the qualities that set him apart: unwavering resolve, a sharp mind, and an unparalleled psychic potential. These attributes quickly caught the attention of the chapter's leaders, earning him a place within the ranks of the Librarius, where his journey would take a distinct and perilous turn. The Librarius was both a sanctuary and a proving ground, a place where psychers of the Blood Angels honed their abilities under the constant threat posed by the warp. For Calistarius, this was an environment where his talents flourished, but it also brought him into direct confrontation with the dangers inherent in wielding such power. Each lesson he learned and every battle he fought with his psychic abilities sharpened his skills while forcing him to confront the darker aspects of the immaterial realm. These experiences began to shape him into the formidable individual he would one day become. As the years passed, Calistarius grew into a seasoned librarian, earning respect and recognition among his brothers. His ability to command the warp with precision and his skill in combat made him a key figure in many of the chapter's campaigns. Whether on distant battlefields or in the heart of the Blood Angels' sanctuaries, he demonstrated a unique combination of martial prowess and psychic mastery that was rarely seen even among the elite. Yet, with each triumph, the weight of his responsibilities grew, and so too did the shadow of the challenges ahead. The Blood Angels, ever beset by their own genetic afflictions, relied heavily on their librarians to act as both spiritual guides and psychic warriors. Calistarius took these roles to heart, dedicating himself to the preservation of his brothers and the pursuit of the chapter's ideals. His unwavering focus on his duties allowed him to navigate the treacherous waters of the warp and the ever-present threat of the Red Thirst. Through discipline and determination, he maintained control over his mind and spirit, even as he witnessed others succumb to the chapter's darker impulses. It was during this period of steady ascent that Calistarius encountered a series of trials that would define the next phase of his life. These moments often came in the form of battles that tested not only his physical abilities, but also his willpower and resilience. From engagements with alien forces to confrontations with the agents of chaos, each encounter served as a crucible in which his strengths were refined and his weaknesses exposed. It was through these battles that his reputation as a gifted and unyielding warrior began to solidify, earning him a place of honor among the Blood Angels. Yet, for all his successes, there were moments of doubt and struggle that threatened to derail his path. The life of a librarian was fraught with dangers beyond the comprehension of most mortals, and even Calistarius was not immune to the toll it took. The constant exposure to the warp, the weight of leadership, and the ever-looming threat of the chapter's genetic curses pressed heavily upon him. These moments of vulnerability were as much a part of his journey as his triumphs, shaping his character and preparing him for the challenges to come. As Calistarius continued to grow in power and influence, his role within the Blood Angels expanded. He became a figure of stability and strength, a beacon for those who struggled against the darkness within themselves. His actions inspired his brothers, and his presence on the battlefield was often the difference between victory and defeat. Yet, even as he achieved new heights, there was a sense that his destiny lay beyond the accomplishments of an ordinary librarian. Unspoken but deeply felt, this undercurrent of expectation hinted at the extraordinary transformation that awaited him. The events leading to the moment just before his transformation into the Lord of Death were marked by a campaign of great significance. In the course of this campaign, Calistarius's abilities and resilience were pushed to their absolute limits. The Blood Angels faced a threat of immense power, one that demanded every ounce of strength and courage from those who stood against it. Calistarius, as both a warrior and a psychic leader, played a pivotal role in the chapter's efforts, demonstrating once again why he had earned his position within their ranks. By the time he reached the precipice of his transformation, Calistarius had already proven himself many times over. His journey was one of constant growth, shaped by the trials and triumphs that defined his life within the Blood Angels. Every step he took, every battle he fought, and every challenge he overcame brought him closer to the moment that would change his existence forever. Though he could not yet see the path ahead, it was clear that his destiny would not be confined to the life of an ordinary librarian. He stood on the brink of something far greater, a transformation that would solidify his place in the annals of the Blood Angels' history. The transformation of Calistarius into Mephiston, the Lord of Death, was a singular and unprecedented event in the annals of the Blood Angels. It began during one of the most harrowing campaigns the chapter had ever faced, a battle fought on the desolate world of Armageddon. This war-torn planet had become the site of an apocalyptic confrontation, and amidst its ruin, the Blood Angels found themselves locked in a desperate struggle against the forces of chaos. The stakes were monumental, the enemy relentless, and the battlefield a crucible of suffering and death. During this campaign, Calistarius and a detachment of his brothers were tasked with holding a critical position against an overwhelming tide of chaos forces. The warp itself seethed with malignant energy, saturating the battlefield with its influence. It was not merely a fight for survival, but a clash of wills against an enemy that sought to corrupt and annihilate all in its path. The librarian's psychic abilities were pushed to their utmost as he fought to shield his brothers from the warp's insidious grasp while wielding its power as a weapon against the foe. The turning point came when Calistarius and his unit were ordered to secure a crumbling hive city that had become a focal point of the Chaos incursion. The warp's influence was strongest here, and the presence of a demon prince commanding the enemy forces made the task seem insurmountable. Calistarius led the charge, his psychic might carving a path through the Chaos hordes. Yet, as the battle reached its zenith, the hive city's structure collapsed, trapping him beneath tons of rubble along with countless foes. Separated from his brothers and entombed in darkness, Calistarius faced a dire fate. It was within this suffocating tomb that the true ordeal began. Alone and grievously injured, Calistarius found himself fully immersed in the warp's malevolent energy. The barriers between reality and the immaterial dissolved, leaving him exposed to its raw, unfiltered power. The demonic whispers that had plagued him throughout the campaign now roared with renewed intensity, seeking to exploit his vulnerability. They promised power, freedom, and escape in exchange for submission, their voices gnawing at the edges of his psyche. For days, perhaps weeks, Calistarius remained trapped, his physical body sustained only by his superhuman constitution and sheer willpower. In this state of isolation, he was subjected to visions of torment and despair, each one more harrowing than the last. The warp sought to break him, to reduce him to a tool of chaos. Yet instead of yielding, Calistarius turned his focus inward. Drawing upon the training and discipline instilled in him by the Blood Angels, he erected mental fortresses against the warp's onslaught. His defiance was absolute, his resolve unshakable. What followed was a battle unlike any he had fought before, a struggle not of blades or bolters, but of pure will. Calistarius confronted not only the demons of the warp, but the darkness within himself. The genetic flaws of his chapter, the red thirst and the black rage, threatened to consume him entirely. He faced the specter of his own despair and rage, acknowledging their presence but refusing to let them define him. This internal confrontation became the crucible in which his transformation was forged. In a moment of unparalleled clarity, Calistarius reached a state of unity with the warp, not as a slave to its whims, but as a master of its energies. He drew upon its power with a control that defied all logic, reshaping his wounded and battered body into a vessel capable of containing his burgeoning psychic potential. The transformation was excruciating, a process that pushed him to the brink of annihilation. Yet, when the dust settled and the warp receded, Calistarius was no more. In his place stood Mephiston, the Lord of Death. Emerging from the rubble, Mephiston was a figure reborn. His psychic aura was overwhelming, his physical form revitalized and exuding an almost supernatural vitality. The Blood Angels who found him were struck with awe and disbelief, for they knew that no one had ever survived the Black Rage, let alone transcended it. Mephiston's survival and transformation defied every precedent, a feat so extraordinary that it was regarded as nothing short of a miracle. The key to this transformation lay in Mephiston's unyielding will and mastery over the warp. Unlike those who succumbed to the Black Rage or were consumed by the warp's corruption, he had found a way to harness these forces, bending them to his indomitable spirit. This newfound power came at a cost, however. The transformation left him profoundly altered, his perspective and demeanor marked by the experience. To his brothers, he was both a source of inspiration and a reminder of the fine line between salvation and damnation. Mephiston's ascension to the title of Lord of Death was not merely a personal triumph, but a turning point for the Blood Angels as a whole. His survival was a beacon of hope for a chapter beleaguered by its genetic curses, a living testament to the possibility of overcoming their darkest afflictions. Yet, it also raised questions and fears, for the power he wielded was unlike anything they had seen before. Whether a blessing or a curse, his transformation was irrevocable, and its implications would resonate throughout the chapter and beyond for centuries to come. The transformation of Calistarius into Mephiston, the Lord of Death, was a singular and unprecedented event in the annals of the Blood Angels. It began during one of the most harrowing campaigns the chapter had ever faced, a battle fought on the desolate world of Armageddon. This war-torn planet had become the site of an apocalyptic confrontation, and amidst its ruin, the Blood Angels found themselves locked in a desperate struggle against the forces of chaos. The stakes were monumental, the enemy relentless, and the battlefield a crucible of suffering and death. During this campaign, Calistarius and a detachment of his brothers were tasked with holding a critical position against an overwhelming tide of chaos forces. The warp itself seethed with malignant energy, saturating the battlefield with its influence. It was not merely a fight for survival, but a clash of wills against an enemy that sought to corrupt and annihilate all in its path. The librarian's psychic abilities were pushed to their utmost as he fought to shield his brothers from the warp's insidious grasp while wielding its power as a weapon against the foe. The turning point came when Calistarius and his unit were ordered to secure a crumbling hive city that had become a focal point of the chaos incursion. The warp's influence was strongest here, and the presence of a demon prince commanding the enemy forces made the task seem insurmountable. Calistarius led the charge, his psychic might carving a path through the chaos hordes. Yet, as the battle reached its zenith, the hive city's structure collapsed, trapping him beneath tons of rubble along with countless foes. Separated from his brothers and entombed in darkness, Calistarius faced a dire fate. It was within this suffocating tomb that the true ordeal began. Alone and grievously injured, Calistarius found himself fully immersed in the warp's malevolent energy. The barriers between reality and the immaterial dissolved, leaving him exposed to its raw, unfiltered power. The demonic whispers that had plagued him throughout the campaign now roared with renewed intensity, seeking to exploit his vulnerability. They promised power, freedom, and escape in exchange for submission, their voices gnawing at the edges of his psyche. For days, perhaps weeks, Calistarius remained trapped, his physical body sustained only by his superhuman constitution and sheer willpower. In this state of isolation, he was subjected to visions of torment and despair, each one more harrowing than the last. The warp sought to break him, to reduce him to a tool of chaos. Yet, instead of yielding, Calistarius turned his focus inward. Drawing upon the training and discipline instilled in him by the Blood Angels, he erected mental fortresses against the warp's onslaught. His defiance was absolute, his resolve unshakable. What followed was a battle unlike any he had fought before, a struggle not of blades or bolters, but of pure will. Calistarius confronted not only the demons of the warp, but the darkness within himself. The genetic flaws of his chapter, the red thirst and the black rage, threatened to consume him entirely. He faced the specter of his own despair and rage, acknowledging their presence but refusing to let them define him. This internal confrontation became the crucible in which his transformation was forged. In a moment of unparalleled clarity, Calistarius reached a state of unity with the warp, not as a slave to its whims, but as a master of its energies. He drew upon its power with a control that defied all logic, reshaping his wounded and battered body into a vessel capable of containing his burgeoning psychic potential. The transformation was excruciating, a process that pushed him to the brink of annihilation. Yet, when the dust settled and the warp receded, Calistarius was no more. In his place stood Mephiston, the Lord of Death. Emerging from the rubble, Mephiston was a figure reborn. His psychic aura was overwhelming, his physical form revitalized and exuding an almost supernatural vitality. The Blood Angels who found him were struck with awe and disbelief, for they knew that no one had ever survived the Black Rage, let alone transcended it. Mephiston's survival and transformation defied every precedent, a feat so extraordinary that it was regarded as nothing short of a miracle. The key to this transformation lay in Mephiston's unyielding will and mastery over the warp. Unlike those who succumbed to the Black Rage or were consumed by the warp's corruption, he had found a way to harness these forces, bending them to his indomitable spirit. This newfound power came at a cost, however. The transformation left him profoundly altered, his perspective and demeanor marked by the experience. To his brothers, he was both a source of inspiration and a reminder of the fine line between salvation and damnation. Mephiston's ascension to the title of Lord of Death was not merely a personal triumph, but a turning point for the Blood Angels as a whole. His survival was a beacon of hope for a chapter beleaguered by its genetic curses, a living testament to the possibility of overcoming their darkest afflictions. Yet, it also raised questions and fears, for the power he wielded was unlike anything they had seen before. Whether a blessing or a curse, his transformation was irrevocable, and its implications would resonate throughout the chapter and beyond for centuries to come. The emergence of Mephiston as the Lord of Death sent ripples throughout the galaxy, altering not only the dynamics within the Blood Angels, but also impacting the broader struggles of the Imperium of Man. His transformation was not an isolated phenomenon. It carried profound consequences for those who encountered him, for the chapter he served, and for the enemies who would come to fear his name. Mephiston's new existence represented both an unparalleled hope and a source of unsettling questions, forcing many to reevaluate their understanding of power, survival, and the limits of human potential. Within the Blood Angels, Mephiston's survival and ascension redefined what was believed possible. For a chapter burdened by the genetic curses of the Red Thirst and the Black Rage, his triumph over these afflictions became a symbol of resilience and a rallying point for morale. He stood as living proof that the darkness within them could be confronted and defeated, inspiring many to fight harder against their inner demons. Aspirants and battle brothers alike looked to him as a figure of hope, a reminder that the flaws within their bloodline did not dictate their ultimate fate. However, his transformation also brought unease. The manner of his survival, deeply intertwined with the warp, raised concerns among the chapter's leadership. While they celebrated his return, the unknown nature of the power he now wielded created tension. His fellow librarians, particularly, grappled with the implications of his enhanced psychic abilities, which far exceeded anything they had witnessed before. Questions arose about whether such power could be truly controlled, and whether Mephiston's connection to the warp posed a risk to the chapter's stability. These doubts lingered, casting a shadow over the otherwise triumphant narrative of his return. Beyond the Blood Angels, Mephiston's transformation became a topic of great interest within the wider Imperium. Among the Adeptus Astartes, whispers of his rebirth spread quickly, earning him both admiration and suspicion. Other chapters viewed his survival as a miracle, a rare and extraordinary event that underscored the resilience of the Blood Angels. At the same time, his unprecedented mastery over the warp placed him under scrutiny from the more zealous factions of the Imperium, such as the Inquisition. The Inquisitors, ever watchful for signs of corruption, regarded Mephiston with a mix of awe and caution, seeing in him both a potential savior and a possible threat. Mephiston's impact extended to the battlefields of the Imperium, where his presence became a decisive factor in countless engagements. His enhanced psychic abilities and martial prowess made him a force of nature, capable of turning the tide of battles that seemed hopelessly lost. Enemies of the Imperium, from heretical forces to xenos empires, quickly learned to fear the name Mephiston. His reputation as the Lord of Death preceded him, instilling terror in those who dared to face him. Tales of his exploits grew, painting him as an almost mythic figure whose arrival on the battlefield heralded inevitable destruction for the enemies of humanity. The enemies of the Imperium, particularly those aligned with the forces of chaos, were deeply affected by Mephiston's transformation. His ability to resist and harness the power of the warp made him a unique adversary, one who could confront demonic entities on equal footing. His very existence was an affront to the forces of chaos, a reminder that the warp's power could be tamed and wielded by those with sufficient will. This defiance made him a target of particular interest to the Chaos Gods and their servants, who saw in him both a threat to their plans and a challenge to their dominance over the immaterial realm. Mephiston's transformation also had implications for the study of the warp and its effects on humanity. Scholars and psychers within the Imperium sought to understand the nature of his survival and the source of his enhanced abilities. While the Blood Angels guarded their secrets closely, the phenomenon of Mephiston sparked debates among the Adeptus Mechanicus and other institutions devoted to uncovering the mysteries of the galaxy. His case became a focal point for discussions about the limits of psychic potential, the dangers of the warp, and the possibilities of transcending the flaws inherent in humanity. The long-term impact of Mephiston's transformation continues to unfold, influencing not only the Blood Angels, but the Imperium as a whole. His example serves as both an inspiration and a warning, a testament to the power of the human spirit and the perils of tampering with forces beyond mortal comprehension. As the Lord of Death, Mephiston has carved a path that few would dare to follow, leaving an indelible mark on the history of the galaxy and ensuring that his legacy will be remembered for millennia to come. Whether his transformation represents the dawn of a new era or the harbinger of greater challenges remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: the galaxy will never forget the name Mephiston. Mephiston's existence is surrounded by numerous unique aspects that have captivated the imagination of the Warhammer 40,000 community for decades. Chief among these is the nature of his transformation and the implications it holds for the boundaries of human potential within the Imperium. His survival of the Black Rage and subsequent rebirth as the Lord of Death have led to widespread speculation and debate, not only about what he represents for the Blood Angels, but also about the deeper mysteries of the warp and its connection to humanity. One of the most intriguing discussions centers around the nature of the psychic abilities Mephiston possesses. While many psychers in the Imperium wield immense power, few demonstrate the same level of mastery and precision that he does. His ability to command the energies of the warp with such control is seen as extraordinary, raising questions about the source of this talent. Some argue that it is a result of his iron will and exceptional discipline, honed through years of training and battle. Others suggest that his transformation may have fundamentally altered his connection to the warp, granting him access to a deeper reservoir of power. This debate has fueled countless theories among fans and scholars alike as they attempt to unravel the mysteries surrounding his abilities. Another point of fascination lies in Mephiston's physical and mental state after his transformation. While his psychic powers are undeniably potent, his body itself has become a vessel of unparalleled resilience and strength. He exhibits a level of physical endurance and combat prowess that rivals the most seasoned warriors of the Blood Angels, despite his primary role as a psyker. This combination of psychic and physical superiority is highly unusual, as most librarians focus primarily on their mental capabilities. Mephiston's duality as both a warrior and a psychic powerhouse has led to speculation that his transformation was not merely a survival of the Black Rage, but a complete evolution into a higher state of being. Fans often discuss the symbolism of Mephiston's title, the Lord of Death, and what it signifies within the context of the Blood Angel's legacy. His name evokes both fear and reverence, encapsulating the duality of his existence. On one hand, he is a figure of hope, representing the possibility of overcoming the curses that plague his chapter. On the other hand, his title also carries a darker connotation, hinting at the thin line he walks between salvation and damnation. This tension has made him a compelling and enigmatic character, one who embodies the perpetual struggle of the Blood Angels against their inner darkness. The implications of Mephiston's transformation extend beyond the Blood Angels, touching on broader themes within the Warhammer 40,000 universe. His existence raises fundamental questions about the nature of humanity's relationship with the warp. The Imperium's stance on the warp is one of fear and control, viewing it as a necessary but dangerous tool. Mephiston's ability to harness its energies without succumbing to its corrupting influence challenges this perspective, suggesting that there may be a way to coexist with the warp rather than merely surviving its dangers. This idea has sparked intense debate among fans, as it presents a rare glimmer of possibility in a setting often defined by grim inevitability. Mephiston's role within the Blood Angels also highlights his unique position as a bridge between the chapter's past and future. He is both a reminder of their noble heritage and a symbol of their potential to transcend the limitations imposed by their genetic flaws. This duality is reflected in his interactions with his brothers, as he inspires both admiration and unease. While many see him as a beacon of hope, others fear the unknown aspects of his transformation and the power he wields. This tension has created a dynamic narrative around his character as he navigates the complex responsibilities of his role while striving to maintain the trust of those he serves. Another topic that often emerges in discussions about Mephiston is the question of whether his transformation could be replicated. His survival of the Black Rage and subsequent evolution are seen as a singular event, but some wonder if the methods he used to overcome his affliction could be studied and applied to others. This possibility has fueled countless fan theories, ranging from the idea that Mephiston's transformation was a unique confluence of circumstances to speculation that it could represent the first step in a broader understanding of the warp's potential to heal rather than harm. The mystery surrounding this question has only deepened his legend, as fans continue to debate the true nature of his transformation. Mephiston's unique position as a character who straddles the line between humanity and something greater has made him a subject of endless fascination. He represents the extremes of what can be achieved through willpower and determination, but his story is also a cautionary tale about the dangers of walking too close to the edge of the abyss. This balance between hope and peril is what makes him such a compelling figure in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, ensuring that his legacy will remain a topic of discussion for years to come. The transformation of Mephiston into the Lord of Death was not a solitary journey, but one shaped by the influence and actions of several key figures. These individuals, through their guidance, intervention, or opposition, played significant roles in the events leading up to his rebirth. Each brought their unique qualities, motivations, and flaws to bear on the story, contributing to the intricate web of circumstances that culminated in Mephiston's ascension. Among the most significant influences was the cadre of Blood Angels librarians who mentored and shaped Calistarius's early development. These seasoned psychers, tasked with overseeing the chapter's librarius, were instrumental in identifying and nurturing his psychic potential. Their rigorous training and unyielding discipline taught him to channel the energies of the warp with precision and control. While their methods were often harsh, their intent was clear: to forge their charges into warriors capable of withstanding the immense psychological and spiritual toll of their duties. Their unwavering commitment to duty and their own struggles against the dangers of the warp made them both mentors and cautionary examples for Calistarius, instilling in him a deep respect for the power he wielded. Chief Librarian Azariel, a figure of great renown within the Blood Angels at the time, was particularly influential in Calistarius's journey. Azariel was known for his extraordinary psychic abilities and his uncompromising standards. He recognized Calistarius's immense potential early on and took a personal interest in his training. Azariel's stern demeanor belied a deep sense of responsibility for the future of the Blood Angels. He saw in Calistarius the possibility of a successor who could carry the Librarius forward and safeguard the chapter's psychic legacy. However, Azariel's approach was not without flaws. His relentless pursuit of perfection often left little room for empathy, pushing his students to their limits and beyond. While this approach honed Calistarius's abilities, it also contributed to the immense pressure he faced, shaping his resolve and mental fortitude. Another figure whose influence loomed large was Chaplain Grimaldus, a spiritual guide and warrior whose role extended beyond the battlefield. Grimaldus was charged with safeguarding the spiritual well-being of the Blood Angels, providing counsel to those struggling with the chapter's genetic curses. Though not directly involved in the Librarius, his presence was a source of strength for Calistarius and many others. Grimaldus embodied the balance between unwavering faith and pragmatic action, offering solace and guidance while never hesitating to remind his brothers of their duty. His sermons and counsel helped Calistarius maintain focus during his darkest moments, grounding him in the ideals of the chapter and the Imperium. The enigmatic figure of Astaroth the Grim, the High Chaplain and Redeemer of the Lost, also played an indirect but critical role in the events leading up to Calistarius's transformation. Astaroth's duty was to execute those who succumbed fully to the Black Rage, sparing them the dishonor of falling entirely to madness. His grim task and unflinching resolve made him a symbol of both fear and reverence among the Blood Angels. While he was not directly involved in Calistarius's transformation, his presence and the ever-present threat of his judgment served as a constant reminder of the stakes. The knowledge that failure could lead to a final confrontation with Astaroth weighed heavily on Calistarius, driving him to fight against the darkness within himself with every ounce of his strength. The unseen but undeniable influence of the Chaos forces opposing the Blood Angels during the campaign on Armageddon must also be acknowledged. The demons and their masters served as both adversaries and unintentional catalysts for Mephiston's transformation. Their relentless attacks and the oppressive warp energies they unleashed created the conditions that forced Calistarius into his ultimate trial. The demon prince who commanded these forces, a figure of immense malevolence and cunning, epitomized the antithesis of the Blood Angel's ideals. Its presence on the battlefield pushed Calistarius to the brink, forcing him to confront the very essence of the warp and his own capacity to resist its influence. Lastly, the collective presence of the Blood Angels as a chapter cannot be overlooked. The culture, traditions, and shared struggles of the Blood Angels formed the foundation upon which Calistarius's transformation was built. The camaraderie and loyalty of his brothers provided both support and a reason to persevere. Each battle fought alongside them, each moment of shared hardship contributed to the strength and determination that would carry him through his ultimate ordeal. The Blood Angels as a whole represented the legacy he fought to preserve and the future he sought to protect, their presence a constant source of motivation and inspiration. These figures, whether through their direct involvement or the roles they played in shaping the environment around him, were integral to the story of Mephiston's transformation. Each brought their strengths, weaknesses, and unique perspectives to bear, leaving an indelible mark on his journey. Together, they formed a complex tapestry of influence and interaction, one that would ultimately lead to the birth of the Lord of Death and the enduring legacy of one of the Blood Angels' most extraordinary figures. The transformation of Mephiston into the Lord of Death has left fans and scholars of the Warhammer 40,000 universe with a host of unanswered questions and theories. While his survival of the Black Rage and Ascension are celebrated as miraculous, the specifics of what occurred during his ordeal remain shrouded in mystery. This ambiguity has fueled countless debates and speculations, with some viewing him as a beacon of hope for the Blood Angels and others questioning the nature of the forces at play in his rebirth. One of the most frequently discussed questions is the true nature of the power Mephiston now wields. His psychic abilities surpass those of nearly any other librarian in the Imperium, raising speculation about whether his transformation fundamentally altered his connection to the warp. Some theorists argue that he tapped into an entirely new reservoir of psychic energy, perhaps one unique to the Blood Angels' genetic legacy or their lingering connection to the Emperor. Others suggest that his survival involved an unknown entity or force that granted him this heightened power in exchange for an as-yet unrevealed price. This idea, while controversial, finds traction among those who view his transformation as too extraordinary to have occurred through sheer will alone. Another point of contention revolves around whether Mephiston's transformation could be replicated. His survival of the Black Rage and his ability to harness its energies without succumbing to madness appear singular, yet some fans and characters within the lore speculate whether his methods could be studied to find a cure for the curses that plague the Blood Angels. While the chapter itself has shown no public effort to replicate his transformation, the notion that Mephiston's experience might hold the key to eliminating the Red Thirst or Black Rage remains an intriguing, if contentious, possibility. Detractors argue that attempting to replicate such an event could lead to catastrophic results, particularly given the dangers of meddling with the warp. The role of the warp in Mephiston's transformation is another source of ongoing debate. While his mastery over its energies is undeniable, there is uncertainty about how much of his transformation was driven by his own will versus external forces. Some suggest that the warp may have sought to use him as a conduit, and his defiance of this influence led to his extraordinary abilities. Others propose that his experience was less about defeating the warp's influence and more about finding a way to coexist with it, a theory that raises philosophical and theological questions about humanity's relationship with the immaterial realm. A particularly disquieting theory involves the possibility of lingering corruption within Mephiston. While he has shown no overt signs of chaos taint, skeptics question whether his unparalleled power and survival of the Black Rage have left subtle traces of the warp's corruption. The fact that his transformation was so unprecedented fuels these suspicions, as even the most disciplined psychers are not immune to the risks of interacting with the warp. Some within the Imperium, particularly the more zealous factions like the Inquisition, are rumored to keep a wary eye on him, ready to act should any signs of corruption emerge. Another unresolved question concerns the deeper implications of Mephiston's existence for the Blood Angels and the Imperium at large. Does his transformation represent a unique event tied specifically to his character, or could it signify a broader phenomenon related to the evolution of humanity's psychic potential? His ability to transcend the Black Rage suggests a path that could potentially redefine the future of the Blood Angels, but whether this path is sustainable or replicable remains unclear. The Blood Angels themselves have been cautious in interpreting his transformation, perhaps recognizing that drawing too much from his example could lead to dangerous experimentation or unrealistic expectations. The lack of detailed records or accounts of what transpired during Mephiston's entombment has only deepened the mystery. While he has emerged stronger and seemingly incorruptible, his reticence to discuss the specifics of his transformation has left room for wild speculation. Did he encounter something within the warp that chose to spare him, or did he achieve his transformation through sheer force of will alone? His silence on the matter has led to widespread debate, with some interpreting it as humility and others as an indication that the truth might be too unsettling to reveal. Finally, the nature of Mephiston's continued existence raises questions about his long-term fate. As a figure of immense psychic power who has overcome seemingly insurmountable odds, he stands apart even among the Blood Angels. Yet, his heightened abilities and unique perspective could also isolate him, potentially setting him on a path that diverges from his brothers. Will his transformation allow him to lead the Blood Angels to a new golden age, or will it eventually draw him toward a destiny that separates him from the chapter he once served as Calistarius? These unanswered questions and theories ensure that Mephiston's transformation will remain a topic of fascination and debate for years to come. The ambiguity surrounding his journey not only deepens his mystique, but also enriches the broader narrative of the Blood Angels and the Imperium. Whether viewed as a miracle, a mystery, or a warning, his story continues to captivate, inviting endless speculation about the forces that shape the Lord of Death and the legacy he will leave behind. The long-term consequences of Mephiston's transformation into the Lord of Death continue to ripple through the Warhammer 40,000 universe, shaping both the present and the potential future of the Blood Angels and the Imperium. His extraordinary powers, elevated far beyond those of even the most gifted psychers, have fundamentally altered the way he influences events around him. While his transformation has provided immediate benefits to the Blood Angels, the broader implications for the galaxy remain a complex mix of promise and peril. Mephiston's psychic abilities have grown to unparalleled levels, allowing him to wield the warp with a precision and power that few in the Imperium can match. His mind is a fortress of indomitable will, capable of resisting the most invasive assaults from demons and heretics. He can manifest devastating psychic storms that obliterate enemy forces, bolster the morale of his allies, and even heal wounds that would otherwise be fatal. This combination of destructive and restorative capabilities makes him a uniquely versatile asset on the battlefield, capable of influencing the outcome of entire campaigns. His transformation has also enhanced his physical prowess, making him a force to be reckoned with even without the use of his psychic powers. Mephiston's speed, strength, and endurance exceed that of nearly all his peers within the Blood Angels, allowing him to confront and overcome enemies that would challenge entire squads of his brethren. This synergy between psychic and physical might has elevated him to a level of combat effectiveness that borders on the supernatural, enabling him to serve as both a shield and a sword for his chapter. In his role as chief librarian, Mephiston's transformation has allowed him to expand the scope of his duties beyond the traditional confines of the position. He has taken a more active role in the strategic planning of the Blood Angels, using his psychic insight to anticipate threats and guide his brothers with a precision that has saved countless lives. His leadership is not merely tactical, but also inspirational. He embodies the possibility of overcoming the genetic curses that have long haunted the chapter, giving his brothers a renewed sense of hope and purpose. Despite these significant benefits, the long-term implications of Mephiston's transformation are not without risk. The sheer magnitude of his power raises concerns about whether such strength can be safely contained over time. The warp is a volatile and unpredictable force, and even the most disciplined psychers are not immune to its corrupting influence. While Mephiston has demonstrated extraordinary resilience, there remains the unsettling possibility that his connection to the warp could one day lead to catastrophic consequences. Should he falter, the damage could extend not only to the Blood Angels, but to the Imperium as a whole. The existence of Mephiston also presents a moral and philosophical dilemma for the Imperium. His abilities challenge the prevailing doctrine that views the warp as a purely malevolent force to be used sparingly and with great caution. Mephiston's mastery of these energies suggests that there may be untapped potential within the warp that could be harnessed for the benefit of humanity. However, this idea runs counter to the rigid orthodoxy of the Imperium, and attempts to explore it further could provoke backlash from more conservative factions, such as the Inquisition. Looking to the future, Mephiston's presence raises questions about the evolution of the Blood Angels and their role within the Imperium. His example may inspire others within the chapter to strive for similar feats of endurance and transformation, potentially leading to new methods of combating the genetic flaws that plague their lineage. However, such pursuits would come with significant risks, as the process that transformed Mephiston is poorly understood and fraught with danger. Any attempt to replicate his transformation could lead to unintended consequences, potentially exacerbating the very problems it seeks to solve. Mephiston's growing influence within the Blood Angels also has implications for the chapter's relationships with other factions of the Imperium. His extraordinary abilities make him a valuable ally, but they also attract scrutiny from those who view his powers with suspicion. His actions on the battlefield, while often decisive, are likely to continue drawing the attention of groups such as the Inquisition, who may see him as a potential threat to the Imperium's stability. Balancing his role as a protector of humanity with the need to maintain the trust of his allies will be a delicate task, one that could shape the trajectory of his legacy. In the broader context of the galaxy, Mephiston's transformation serves as a symbol of humanity's potential to transcend its limitations. His ability to overcome the Black Rage and harness the warp without succumbing to corruption offers a glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak and unforgiving universe. However, this hope is tempered by the ever-present dangers of the warp and the challenges of navigating a galaxy defined by war and chaos. Whether Mephiston's transformation will ultimately prove to be a blessing or a curse remains an open question, one that will likely be debated for generations to come. The significance of Mephiston's transformation extends far beyond his personal story. It touches on fundamental questions about the nature of power, resilience, and the human spirit in the face of insurmountable odds. As the Lord of Death, Mephiston has become a symbol of both the possibilities and the perils of pushing the boundaries of what it means to be human. His journey is not merely a tale of survival, but a harbinger of what may lie ahead for the Blood Angels, the Imperium, and the galaxy itself. The true legacy of his transformation has yet to be written, and its final chapter may hold the key to understanding humanity's place in the grim darkness of the far future.